This is Healing with Haley, episode 10, Don't Shit on Yourself. Is it possible that you are the cause of your own suffering? Are you thinking thoughts that are preventing you from getting your life to the next level? My name is Haley Kirk, and I'm a life coach, mom, entrepreneur, and fierce friend, here to show you how to be the hero in your own story. Welcome, you guys. Today is raining like crazy. Oh my goodness. There's like a tropical storm on the East Coast, so it's been just raining and pouring. The old man is snoring. All right, you guys, I love rainy days, by the way. I love rainy days. I don't know why. Maybe it kind of gives me an excuse to relax. Does anybody else need an excuse to relax? I do. Because there's so much of me that's like, okay, gotta get this done. Gotta go. Gotta rush out the door. Gotta clean. I just feel this constant pressure to just be productive. And it feels so good to just have a chill day. Watching that movie, Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts. Oh, love her. Is so good because when she goes to Italy, I have to remember the wording, but they say this word in Italian. It's like the art of doing nothing. And I want to add that to one of my habits. I just want to do the art of nothing. I feel like that would be just bliss. Yeah, let's just make that happen. So, anyways, today's podcast, Don't Should on Yourself, is a play on words. And I think anytime we say should, I should do this, I shouldn't do this, I can't do this, it's a way of kind of arguing with reality. And I really love to stay in reality. And I feel that my social work background, for those of you that don't know, I graduated in social work from the university, or Utah Valley University, back in 2017. Wow, spring of 2017. That's crazy to me. Whoa. Anyways, so anytime we're arguing with reality, we're going to experience a lot of pain and suffering and cognitive dissonance, right? So anytime you say, oh, that dog shouldn't bark. Well, dogs bark. That's their nature. Babies shouldn't cry. But they do. They should actually cry because they do, right? And there's a few authors that have come to mind, and I want to share some of their thoughts. And I feel like it is so important to be aware of the things you say out loud, but even more importantly, we should be focused on the things we say to ourselves. What I'm really saying is that constant voice that is in your head, right? It's almost like your heart pumps blood, the lungs process the air, and the brain thinks thoughts. It's an automatic thing. You don't even have to think about it, right? And it's just this constant chatter. And this is what Michael Singer talks about, the incessant roommate in our head. Or Byron Katie, these are both two of my favorite authors, calls it ego. And I love these two definitions or names to call this chatter in our head. And really, we want to separate ourselves from this chatter because it's not who we are. And these thoughts are all optional. Thoughts are optional. What a gift. Because if I were to believe all the thoughts that come into my mind, woohoo, cuckoo, I mean a cuckoo house, right? I have the option to believe whatever I want. And more importantly, what serves me best. So I want to share a few things from one of my favorite authors, Michael Singer, who wrote Untethered Soul. Here is some of his ideas that I think are genius. And it totally ties into how I'm having rainy weather, right? outside, it's raining right now. For me to be bothered that it's raining, he says, 100% cost and 0% benefit. So in business, right, if you're going to be spending money, you're hoping that it's going to give you some kind of return. No, when you argue with reality, or in his example, argue with the weather, it's 100% cost, 0% benefit or return. It doesn't profit you anything to argue with what is. It really is a cost. It takes away from what you are, what you have, your energy, your mental state. It takes away from all of this. And then he says this: you shouldn't need things to be a certain way to be okay. Let me read it again. You shouldn't need things to be a certain way to be okay. This is another thing Byron Katie says. Other than what you're thinking and believing, are you okay? Oh, I love this one, because a lot of times I find myself just overwhelmed, and I'm like, I just can't do that life coaching stuff right now. I just I'm just going to be yucky and miserable and blah. A lot of times I just like to sneak this one in. The real me. Other than what you're thinking and believing, Haley, are you okay? Okay, yeah, I'm okay. Like, I'm fine. I'm okay. Okay, all right. At least we can get to some place of equilibrium. So then he goes on to continue. So you shouldn't need things to be a certain way to be okay. So then he gives an example. Say you're at lunch. The waiter isn't nice. The waiter's kind of messy and sloppy and doesn't really smile. And you're out with your friend. Are you going to say that the waiter should be nice? Well, that just ruins the day. The food isn't warm enough. The waiter isn't nice. The waiter didn't fill up your water. The table isn't as clean. There's a crumb on the table. Go ahead and ruin your lunch. Right? You could be totally in bliss all the time when we're not arguing with reality. Okay, so this waiter isn't very nice. Okay, maybe he's having a bad day. I wonder what it's like to be a waiter. I wonder what it's like to be in his shoes or her shoes, right? The food isn't warm enough. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to appreciate not warm food. Oh, the table isn't as clean. Oh, like maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn something from it. You know, there's just so much we can do mentally to ruin or to gain from an experience. Now, this is another thing I find just so interesting. He says, don't get rid of your preferences. Get rid of the cause of preferences. And he then argues preferences are created by your blockages. Okay, let's dive in. Preferences are created by your blockages. So if I were to think about a preference I have, my preference is that Israel wakes up at 7 a.m. But a lot of the times he wakes up at 6 or 6:30, right? Now, what is my blockage right there? I don't have enough time to sleep. That's my blockage. Scarcity, right? What if that wasn't true? I have all the time that I need. And then he says this. Oh, this is a Byron Katie, sorry. So moving forward to Byron Katie, fulfillment is without comparison. I don't get as much sleep as this person. I don't get as much sleep as I did before Israel. Right? When we start comparing, that's when we're out of fulfillment, out of abundance. Okay? Super interesting to just think about our preferences, right? My preference is that I get a workout in before I go to work. Okay, that's fine to have that preference, but what might be a blockage there? I get a sense of self-worth from this. Interesting, right? This past few days I've been really sick, and it's been really bogging me down because I've been really good at keeping my habit of going to the gym before work, and my best is different when I'm sick, compared to when I'm well. And so I've been battling with my ego, with that incessant roommate in my head just telling me, oh wow, now look at you. Like, are you really a good life coach? Are you really an amazing mom and really dedicated to your health? Maybe yes and maybe no, right? Maybe there's days I'm going to show up as the person I want to be. Maybe there's days I'm not going to. I can be both. And the fulfillment is without the comparison, right? I'm going to be fulfilled today, even though today Haley isn't doing what yesterday Haley did. That's okay. I can still find some fulfillment there by not comparing today's Haley to yesterday's Haley. Okay? So, a little intro into Byron Katie. She wrote the book, I Need Your Love, Is That True? And I just love this story that goes along with this idea that we have of not arguing with reality, or don't should on yourself. My life was like a fable. I walked into the Mojave Desert on a gorgeous day minding my own business. Suddenly, oh my gosh, there is a big fat Mojave green rattlesnake directly in front of me, and I had almost stepped on him. No one around for miles, and this could be a painful, slow death. My heart was beating to pop out of my chest. My brow broke into a sweat. I was paralyzed by fear. But then, and I don't know how it happened, my eyes began to focus. I dared another glance at the snake, and miraculously I saw, it's a rope. The snake is a rope. Well, I fell to the ground and began to laugh and cry and just take it all in. I even had to poke it. What had happened? I knew one thing. I was safe. I knew that I could stand over that rope for 1,000 years and never be frightened of it ever again. I felt such gratitude and ease. The entire world could come upon this snake, scream, run away, have heart attacks, scare themselves to death, and I could remain here fearlessly and pass on the good news. I would understand people's fears, see their pain, hear their stories about why it really is a snake, and yet there would be no way that I could believe them or be frightened of that rope. I had fallen into the simple truth. That snake is a rope. She continues, there is something that you are taking to be a rattlesnake that is really a rope. Confusions about relationships are all forms of the same fear. That you won't be happy or survive without someone's approval or love. That if you are not working 24 hours a day to impress your boss, spouse, a colleague, things will fall apart. Inquiry is about the snakes in the mind, the thoughts that keep us from love and thoughts that prevent us from being loved. I can see that every loveless, stressful thought is in the mind is a rope. When you do question your thoughts, you will find that the world is a much kinder place than you had imagined, and there is no need to go to sleep in fear or wake up anxious. The world is full of love, and there is plenty to go around. Byron Katie. I'm already itching to read her book again. I've read that book probably 5-6 times, and I'm already like, what? I'm missing stuff again. Remind me. I just want us to think, what are we making a rattlesnake that is really a rope? What in our minds are we saying shouldn't be that is? What are we aggrandizing to be so much better than what we have now. You know, the other day I saw on Instagram, it was this video of these kids, and they were like, if you had one wish, what would it be? And they were like, an iPod, $1 million, a quadrillion $1 million. And they were saying all these really cute things. And this was, you know, in the West. And then they asked other children, more impoverished, of course, you know, if you had one wish, what would it be? And they were like, meat, chicken, bread. Oh, man, and that just made my heart sink. It just puts things into perspective, right? And so many people don't even have shelter or water or food, and it's lovely to want things, right? To want nice things, and there's no shame in wanting those things. It's just fulfillment has no comparison, right? I have everything that I need right in this moment. I shouldn't, there's no shoulds, because everything that is right now is. Now, I did this exercise with Byron Katie to kind of illustrate maybe how some thoughts, some of the ego or the incessant roommate in our head can kind of play tricks on us a little bit. And so I want to kind of walk you through how Byron Katie, through her work, shows us ego, right? Shows us the thoughts, the incessant thoughts in our head that are really on just autopilot. Okay, so this exercise, I'll link in the show notes. It is called 1, 2, 3. And what you do is step 1, you write down your complaints. Step 2, you write it down, and then you ask the 4 questions and turn it around. So that's one of her cute sayings. I love it. Here goes a few of them. I complain about my house because it's always messy. So the worksheet goes, I complain about X because X, or fill in the blank, I should say. So I complain about, I filled in the blank, my house, because I'm filling in the blank saying it's always messy. Then I ask the 4 questions. Is it true? Yes, I'm the only one that cleans, and sometimes I just don't clean the kitchen. Can you absolutely know it's true? Well, no. There are times of the day, especially at nighttime or on Sundays, when the house is especially clean. How do you react when you think this thought? I get overwhelmed, and I feel like a failure, like a slob. Who would you be without the thoughts? Relaxed and not so pent up. So that's my first complaint. My second complaint, I complain about my job because it's so boring and monotonous. And this is my day job that I'm talking about. Is it true? Yes, every day it's the same thing. Can you absolutely know it's true? Well, there are days where there are meetings or I have special conversations with the customer that I enjoy. How do you react when you think this thought? I get grumpy and frustrated, and sometimes, and honest, I take it out on my customers and with brevity or haughty speech. Who would you be without this thought? Kinder, more present, and embracing and loving what is. My third complaint, I complain about my son because he cries a lot and it's annoying. Is it true? Yes, it feels like he doesn't stop crying all day long. Can you absolutely know it's true? Okay, he doesn't cry as much as other babies. He's actually really pleasant and just cries when he needs something, which can sometimes overwhelm me. How do you react when you think this thought? Overwhelmed, chaotic, my brain hurts, I feel crowded in my head. Who would you be without this thought? Clear-minded, patient, and way more kind to Israel. This is a beautiful exercise, you guys, to get out of your head and question the thoughts that are running through that beautiful mind. Now, I also want to shift this podcast a bit and talk about a conversation I recently had with my friend who told me that they were struggling really deeply with anxiety, depression, and some dark emotions. And I pried a little bit more. I tried to get more info, and it came to a point where the thoughts were becoming thoughts like, what's the point? I work so hard and I'm only at this point in my life. I should be at a higher point in my life. I should be here, but I'm only all the way back here. I've started over, da 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 da. And if this sounds familiar, which I know there are so many people that feel this same way, and I have experienced the same thing as well. Right? I've been trying to podcast for 2 years now, and I'm just barely publishing. I could get there. I should have been able to publish sooner. Well, the reality is I didn't, for whatever reason. And the reality is I wasn't supposed to publish back then because I didn't. There were experiences in my life that I had to, wow. Now that this is coming out, it's so true. There are so many experiences that I had to have in those 2 years that I feel more empowered, like I have more to share, that I have more confidence to give. I needed to go through these things that I did in these 2 years, and boy, have I grown these past 2 years that I didn't have before. The universe or God, I'm not sure what I believe. I'm honestly still questioning it and trying to understand. I'm going through a faith journey, but I believe there is a greater, a creator or a higher power than me. And I was created. I know that, and I'm here, and that's indisputable because I am. So it had to be because it is. And to argue otherwise is hell, is delusion, is pain and suffering. I could argue all day, my hair should be red, but it's not. It's blonde and hazel and all these different colors, right? It's totally fine to want something different for your life. My qualm is when it turns into it should be a different life. It shouldn't be this life that is here and now and in the present with me. Now, I'm totally fine going into the future, and planning the future is fun. For me, I love planning the future. The future is this potential energy, right? It's so fun. It's so fun to plan and create and prepare and do all these things for the future. When we go to the past and start saying shoulds, I wish, why couldn't have, why did they, why did I? Because they did, because I did, because it happened, because that's how it was meant to be, because it passed, right? Now, when my friend, confessed these dark, hard emotions, what I let them know is that these are all just thoughts. And what's really interesting to note is emotions, the nervous system is a lot like a smoke detector in a home. A smoke detector doesn't know the difference between just you burnt your burgers on the grill versus there's a fire in the house and you're going to die, right? And our nervous system reacts the same way. It's evolutionarily functioning in that way. And for good reason, and also not everything's an emergency, right? So when our brains go into, oh my gosh, fear, uncertainty, you're gonna die, like you're not at the place where you are, your social survival is at risk, right? And a nervous system is just on smoke detector status, right? The beep beep beep, and the whole neighborhood knows that you don't know how to cook. So this is literally me almost every night. I always burn my burgers. And what we want to do is a few things. One, question your thoughts. Other than what I'm thinking and believing, am I okay? You're okay, right? And if you're not okay, right, call and get some help. Now, once we have recognized, okay, I'm okay, then we can kind of, okay, what does anxiety feel like? What does depression feel like? Let's process this. Like, where do I feel it in my body? For me, I feel anxiety in my neck and in my shoulders and like in my head. And anxiety feels to me like dark black and red colors. We want to get real in tune with our bodies and understand what these emotions feel like. What does depression feel like for me? Depression feels like this big weight just all like over my body, and I just feel small and overwhelmed and reclusive and tiny. When I'm depressed, I feel dimmed. I feel, there's a lot of weight to depression for me. And so, go through these exercises, get into your body and just feel and process. This is how you process the emotion, right? This is getting in tune with what has already gone through your nervous system because of the thought. Now, once you process those emotions, at that point, you can process another thought. You can offer up your ego, hey, is that true? What if this isn't true? Who would I be without this thought? Is this thought serving me? Is this thought helping me be the person I want to be? Okay, well, let's try on a thought that's different, that's believable, right? I'm not a big believer in positive thinking. I'm a believer in believable thinking. And I want to leave you guys with this. If you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. And that's Cy Wakeman. You guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. I hope that you come away with this podcast with some tools in your pocket to help you navigate the complexities of the mind and human emotion. And I hope you can use this in times of need, in times where your friends give you a call and are asking for your advice or your help. I hope this can be a light, so this can shine light through you and to others, and it can help really allow you to be the person you were meant to be and your highest and truest self. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for how much feedback I've been getting. Please like, subscribe, and share. This is how my podcast grows. This is how my work is given and will help others to be free from the thoughts that are keeping us prisoners. I want to liberate us and really end our own suffering. Thank you guys. Have a lovely, lovely day. If you are looking to change your life in 2024, look no further. I have a coaching program built just for you. Each month, we will dive deep into limiting belief systems, thought patterns, habits, and so much more to take your dream life and make it a reality. Sign up for my 12-month coaching program before spots fill up. I'm only taking 15 clients who are serious about taking massive action towards their dream life. I'll see you in the program.